Kia ora. Sorry to interrupt you, but did you hear that secondary schools in New Zealand are changing from next year? Are you in year 9 next year? That's 2026. If so, you have a new path ahead of you. Here's what we know so far. By the time you get to year 11, you won't have the NCEA Level 1 stuff. You're going to have the FA. It's a foundational award. More information will be later in this video, so stick around to hear more. Then, in year 12, you'll work towards the NZCE. This is the New Zealand Certificate of Education. We'll talk about this more later as well. And lastly, will be the NZACE, or the NZACE. Depends how you want to say it. But this one is for year 13. And stick around to hear more about this one too, and how it works as we go through the video. At the moment, the NCEA lets students pick a mix within maths. So one student might come out with mostly statistics, and another with calculus. If you choose statistics in year 12, it's near impossible to switch to calculus in year 13 if you find you suddenly excel at maths, or let's say you need it for a career that you just discovered. It's a system that gives choice to a student who can then experience maths at different depths, but it's also confusing in terms of what it makes you ready for. In the new system, the NZCE and the NZACE remove that patchwork. There'll be a single mathematics prescription, meaning if you pass maths, it signals the same skill set across the country and internationally. Here's where we're going to talk about the Foundational Award and the other awards in turn. As far as we know now, the Foundation Award will be first attempted in 2028. That's about 3 years away. In those 3 years, most schools will deliver a beautiful and rich curriculum to students in preparation for problem solving that is going to be required in year 12. I say year 12 because the Foundation Award is set to replace Numeracy Co-Rec. It will contain more than just numeracy, of course, but the main qualification is going to be year 12. It seems as though the new qualification encourages students to stay in education until at least year 12, which is not a bad thing. But if you do not stay, you definitely want your FA. I predict that employers would see it as a good indicator, and it's a worthy qualification to be proud of. Just like the Numeracy Co-Rec, we expect the final outcome to be either a pass or a fail. In the current system, there are deeper criteria to passing the Numeracy Co-Rec exam. This includes hitting a certain amount of 3 types of questions, as well as these 3 major topic areas of number, measurement and geometry, and statistics. The Foundational Award isn't shaping up to be just get 50% and you pass type of exam. It's much more probable that it will be like the current literacy and numeracy tests, and you'll need to demonstrate each core skill at the right standard. It's important to note that motivation for academic success is largely based on the value of the qualification available. That is, it shouldn't be something that everyone can pass at 100% without any study. Ownership of a pass should unlock more opportunities with it than compared to without it, and the pursuit and success towards it must be championed in the community. This last thing is one thing that New Zealand must get right. All this change is sometimes hard to adapt, but we must support the academic journey to build a strong economy, which leads to better healthcare and more work opportunities. Especially in today's rapidly changing society, there's another criterion. It must empower the owner with a greater ability to understand and take ownership of their future. This last addition is partly beyond function. It speaks of lifelong learning and deep appreciation for the sake of intellectualism, for the sake of identity and self-confidence. I hope that the foundational skills are lifelong useful skills and that schools design a curriculum with this in mind. Some people are asking, will there be an FA for each subject? Like an FA score for English and a different FA score for maths? But current indications tell us that it will be a single award with multiple exams, like what we have now with literacy and numeracy. But let's talk quickly about what's coming in 2026. We have a 3-year window before this award becomes a reality, so how can we make the most of this time? First, remember that this preparation is going to be a journey filled with some uncertainty, and that's okay, because every journey, especially one involving learning, is unique and rewarding. The key here is lifelong learning. It's not just about preparing for an award, but nurturing a mindset that's ready to adapt and grow throughout your life. Think about how you can integrate learning into your everyday life. What skills can you start honing now? And how can you stay curious and open to new experiences? Over the next few years, there will be plenty of support and resources developed to help you. It's going to be exciting and fun. We will take the future in our hands, for sure. One thing that is certain is that resilience will go a long way. Never give up, never back down. Stay watching until the end, where I'm going to give you my top tips for success over the next few years. If you're in year 12 in 2029, which seems a really long way off right now, you won't be doing NCEA anymore. Instead, you're going to be working towards the New Zealand Certificate of Education, or the NZCE. I don't know how that's going to be abbreviated, but we'll figure it out. This is a long way off now, but as I said, there's going to be plenty of preparation time, and resources will be built-in preparation in plenty of time. Students take at least 5 subjects from the following. It will most likely be that the government will want students to study maths and English through to year 12. Then you'll pick another 3 on top of that. So we have English, maths and stats, science, social sciences, technology, the arts, health and physical education, and languages, all the standard subjects that we have. My personal take on these 2 subjects being compulsory for English and maths is that the world is entering a new era with the advent of AI especially, and one of the most important subjects moving forward is going to be maths, obviously for the logic and the programming and the science, languages, so the large language models are built upon language, physics, and entrepreneurship. I should probably add there mathematics and statistics, because statistics are also a large part of the large language model. These great academic disciplines are exactly that, mostly very joyous, but mainly a discipline that develops our intellect, our problem-solving ability, and self-confidence through critical analysis. To earn an NZCE or an NZ, you must pass 4 out of 5 of your subjects. From what has been released, we can deduce that each subject you choose will be assessed and graded from A to G, where A is the best, and this will be based on a percentage. There are a number of systems around the world that use this. It will open up a vast array of resources to draw from. Universities will likely release what they deem to be a good pass, or create offers based on how they feel the qualification prepares students for their studies. For example, to get into UC engineering, an offer that may look something like AABB with maths and physics. So you might get an A in maths, an A in physics, and a B in 2 other subjects. These grades may also be used to help inform decisions about the readiness for the NZACE, which is quite important in maths because the knowledge is so hierarchical. The NZACE is the next year's study, which we're going to get to later in the video. Lastly, these grades may be used by employers who may ask for 3 passes from grades A to C, for example, or 5 passes from A to C in order to get employment. I have worked in an international program at the top UK university and found that there are companies that create conversion charts. The new grades and curriculum should align better and make New Zealand more competitive internationally. For example, from some countries where we knew the education system was either prone to corruption or was not rigorous enough, getting 5 grade A's was not the same as getting 5 grade A's in the UK A-level system. If you studied A-levels, you would need to get a B grade plus 2 C grades, for example. But we assessed applications from, say, country X, and it would have to be an AAB. And that was just to make sure that the candidate was ready for the level of difficulty that they were about to face. After all, it was a lot of money and a whole year of study that could be wasted if it was wrong. Besides that, we would hold interviews too, which is still one of my favourite forms of assessment. And lastly, the final year. In year 13, it will be all about the aptly named NZACE, which is quite easily on the tongue. The first cohort to take this will be far away in 2029, but by this time, we should be ready. Again, you're going to pick your 5 subjects at least, and you need to pass 4 in order to get this certification. Okay, time for my top tips on how to approach this and be ready. If you're starting year 9 next year, and that's in 2026, you're going to be the very first students to sit these new qualifications. That's exciting, but it also means you need to approach school a bit differently. Here are my top 5 survival tips for thriving in the new NZCE system. Right from year 9, you're going to need to take your studies seriously. The great news is you will have year 9, 10, and 11 to master the subject. Bear in mind that it's a setup for year 12 as well. You want a good breadth of knowledge, ready for anything. Study in maths is hierarchical, and so you need to build your foundation strong in order to build on top of them. As you can see, the pyramid there. Strong foundation is going to give you a good head start for that spearhead into year 12 and 13. Have you heard of the parable about the wise man who built his house upon the rocks? He survived the storm, versus the man who built his house upon the sand. I want to take a look at the little hierarchy of progression here. On the right hand side, you've got the primes, which you might see before year 9, and that will lead us to understanding how to break down a number into product of primes by year 9. And then by year 10, we might be looking at factorizing into product of primes to simplify expressions, which will move on to algebra. And then finally, all of those skills come together when we are trying to gain an intuitive understanding into calculus in year 12 and 13. Like, how do we use that algebra so we're not even thinking about it, so it's automatic? And that's going to start all the way down in year 9. And we get those foundations in place, it's going to be so much easier in year 12 and 13. Okay, number 2, you've got to think in subjects, not credits. Students in New Zealand who have passed through the old NCEA system may expect that certain actions or habits may also apply here. The new system is more about learning for life. This is deeply embedded and meaningful learning experiences that, through commitment and discipline, will develop our intellect so that we might meet the unknown challenges of the future with resilience and ingenuity. A maths teacher cannot guarantee that the maths you see in the classroom will be used again. That age-old phrase, when am I going to use this again? But this is the wrong motivation and probably the wrong question. Firstly, a particular topic in maths is a very small skill in a large bag of skills, which also acts as a vehicle for understanding other more complex areas. The skills in lower levels are not always used in isolation. And secondly, each skill in maths is a philosophical, logical, and intellectual exercise that provides the necessary challenge for us to grow. And what are we growing? Well, if you go to the gym, you'll be growing muscle, but if you study maths, you're going to be growing, I call it complexity. You're going to be growing your ability to deal with abstract problem solving. And I liken it to going to the gym, where you would train for strength. Would you ask where you would use this? The set of possible scenarios where you would use stronger muscles is so vast that we can say that being stronger is just generally healthier, and it makes us more ready for all the many situations that will call for strength. And just like the gym, there is no gain without a little bit of pain. And we don't mean excruciating pain, we just mean a little bit of hard work. Working in the zone of proximal development. We can talk about this in another video if you want, and if you're interested, comment "in the zone" and I'll link a video to you in the comments. By studying maths, it's a vehicle for self-discovery and self-mastery, and an antidote to anxiety. Choose your 5 subjects wisely, coming in at number 3. This has always been true, but even more so because they're a commitment that will open the gates to a beautiful future. Look ahead and think about your careers, okay? If you don't know what you want to do long term, then simply keep your options open and look at some of the more lucrative career options out there and maybe work towards that until things change. Or do what you really love, get great grades, and then you'll be ready for a decision later. Number 4, keep regular study habits. Now, a little bit of a bugbear for a lot of people, but this is going to be important. Now we're going to learn the hard way, or we're going to take the wisdom. In this new system, a gifted student, let's say, who's really enjoying maths and probably is practiced enough to feel that they can make quicker progress than average. And I say that very importantly because some people think they're either good at maths or they're not, and really it is about those that work hard, okay? So let's just all put ourselves in the same boat, and let's say we've done the practice, we put in the mahi, the hard work, and we will say, they would make about 2 levels of progress. That may be something like a grade E to C per year. And there are 2 important points to note about this. Okay, so how to make this progress. First of all, subject knowledge is not going away. Okay, it will need to be retained until the end of the year and beyond. It will be the foundational building blocks of the following year. And so this system really needs you to keep up those regular study habits. There's quite a bit to keep going. Secondly, studying an extra hour a year in other similar global systems typically equates to a whole grade extra by the end of the year. That's definitely something you don't want to miss out on. You're going to get from it what you put in. And I like to use the iceberg model. When you see an iceberg, it's only the small tip at the top. That's like the classroom. What's underneath is a huge potential for you in your personal time to make the most of it and really grow. If you want an ultimate guide to studying, comment study guide below and I'll link you a lesson. You can use my progressive overload system to absolutely ace your exams. No pun intended. Okay, coming in number 5, keep a record and review. This is probably something that's going to develop naturally, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you want to succeed, you will need to ensure that what you learn is not forgotten. It is important and will be well into the future. I think it's really useful, and to be honest, I recommend, and most people that I've spoken to do too, to keep a list and regularly review it. there will be curriculum plans at your school that you can use. So, for example, ask your teacher to have those curriculum plans or the plan for the term or plan for the year, and you can have that as your tick list. If not, you could just make your own as you go along. So if the lessons are more spontaneous, you can just make sure you write a title in your book as you go along, and you'll have that list. It's a really good time to talk about the forgetting curve. What you see here is a little graph called the forgetting curve. It's one of the failures of the human brain and memory system. It basically says you're going to forget stuff over time. It's just natural. It's a memory flaw that we all have. But if you keep revising, what happens is eventually it's going to be stored in your long-term memory. So let's say you had a lesson in October the 14th and it's slowly fading down. But then when you revise again on the 18th, so 4 days later, you're going to bring that back up to where it was before, and you're going to have some solid impact. It's going to slowly decrease, but look how it doesn't go all the way down. And then when you revise again, let's say on November the 1st, what's that, about 2 weeks afterwards, that's going to remain pretty high for much longer until eventually it's stored in your long-term memory. Now, if you want to learn about 4 amazing study techniques, one of which is really going to help with this, and it's called spaced learning, then just comment below study techniques, and I'll link you the video. All right, everyone, thanks for listening, and I hope you found it really helpful. At this time where everything's changing and we don't know what's going to happen in the future, it's really cool to have some up-to-date advice and knowledge, and this is the best I have at the moment. As it updates, I will let you know and keep you updated. Subscribe so you do not miss out on some excellent content that's going to prepare you for your Foundational Award and NZCE. There's a lot to come, and I hope to see you around.